Now, if you don't want to buy your own molds, one really cool thing is you can make your own with some cardboard. Now, this already came in a triangle shape, so I'm going to use this one first and just take an extra piece of cardboard here and place it on the bottom because we need a base. And then I just take my hot glue gun and run all the way along to seal every single edge. We want a lot of glue to really seal it. You can also tape it together, but for the bottom, I like to make sure that it's extra sealed and use the hot glue. Now here I'll make one. Here's just a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard that's already folded up, so I thought that would be cool to make a rectangle. So we just need to add a side, and all we're gonna do is the exact same thing. Just put it up like we can do here. Just kind of eyeball it and make sure it's even. If you want to be exact, of course, you can cut this exactly. I kind of just like to have fun with it since you're making your own molds. And then once this dries, we just add a bottom. So you just will have to hold it in place. I like to use hot glue because it works really well. It gives it a nice seal and it dries pretty quickly. If you use another glue, you're gonna have to hold it a long time. Look, that's already pretty much dried. Now we're just gonna have to add something to our bottom. So I'm just gonna find a piece. Okay, so here's a nice flat piece for our bottom. We can just go ahead and cut that down to size if you want to be specific, you can, or you can have some sides hanging over. What I like to do is just kind of cut those off so they don't get in the way. But as you can see, it's really easy to make your own molds, and you can have a lot of fun with this. And what I like is that kids can even help make molds, and then of course you'll just have to do the pouring for them. But it is one way that you can include your kids in the fun. Again, I'm just sealing this with a hot glue gun, and you can even double seal it, go back over it a second time just to make sure that you have every single part of that glued down. Then you would just use this as your mold. Okay, now in my 2 containers, I prepared my wicks. I have my wick stand down on the bottom of this mold just with a little bit of the tacky wax, and then I'm holding my wick in place with the wick bar. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour my wax in. I wanna just go very slowly. Okay. I like to use smaller containers such as this one here because you don't want to have to do a re-pour, so that you can keep the bottom since we attached the wicks to the bottom. So we're just going to let this cool and I'll show you what it looks like. Now that we've let this candle overnight to dry, we can go ahead and pop it out. Now what you need to do is to kind of just rip the sides off, and if you didn't use enough of the spray, then it's gonna get stuck. So you may just have to work with it and play around with it and pull tightly in some areas and then just pull it right off. So you can't use this mold again, but since cardboard's very inexpensive, you can definitely make a number of these. Okay, so now once you have peeled all of this off, you have your awesome candle. Now, when you're making candles like this, they might not be perfect. As you can see, there's some bumps here because cardboard's not perfect, just like a mold would be perfect. But you can always go ahead and just take a dull knife and just scrape down the edges if you want. If you want something a little bit sharper, you can use an X-Acto knife. Just be very careful and just scrape down your edges. But I think it looks really cool. And as you can see, I added another layer just of blue on the top just to finish it off because the top did sink, so I wanted it to look nice. And there we go. That's how you make a candle out of cardboard as a mold, and it's a really great money-saving idea if you want to start making candles but you don't want to buy expensive molds like our metal ones.